What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. Just felt like coming on to show some records before too many pile up again. Don't want to make the video too long, so got some good stuff to show today. Let's just get into it here. Hopefully you guys can see me. It's a little dark outside, but it should be alright. This is what playing in the background, if you can hear it. Let me take it out of the shrink, actually, or the sleeve. Oh, sorry. So this is Francois Genot, Pandemonium, with, what's the name of this? Terrains Vagues, or I'm sure it's pronounced differently in French. It's a French record, but Francois Genot, I'm sure it's pronounced differently in French, like I said, but anyway, he's a guy that had the Weird Planet album still after that one. I would love to find that, but this is from 1983, I believe, a little bit later. Still really, really good, though. This got from Chris, his last package, so thank you, bro, if you happen to see this. So, quite a large cast on this. Players including Daniel Humer on vibes, and I think also on drums. Who else plays on this? Oh, Henry Texier. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but hopefully you guys can see that. There's the lineup there. Pause it if you want. Sorry about the glare. Once again, like I said, the lighting isn't optimal, but fantastic record. Highly recommend this. Like post-bop, free jazz, avant jazz. Very, very good. Definitely recommend most of his records. Up here. Oh, this is still sealed, I forgot. So, Elton Dean's Ninsense. I had this before, and I believe I traded it, or I sold it, I don't remember which one. I think I ended up trading it, but from 1976 on the Ogun label. Very, very good. South African / British jazz. Basically, this group, I guess, kind of was like the spiritual heir to the Keith Tippett group, excuse me, from the 70s, so that was a fantastic lineup right there. This is kind of spiritual heir of that. So Elton Dean on sax, Alan Skidmore on tenor sax, Harry Beckett on trumpet, flugelhorn, Nick Evans on trombone, Mark Tarrick on trumpet, tenor, Keith Tippett on piano, Harry Miller on bass, and Louis Mahalo on drums. So similar lineup. The Keith Tippett group. I don't know why that's so hard for me to pronounce. Really, kids woke up. Yeah, big band, free jazz. Great jams, fiery grooves, just amazing, amazing jazz. I love the cover on this too. Very cool. Sorry, I'm trying to do something a little bit different with the camera. I'm not sure if it's gonna look better, but hopefully. Yeah, amazing artwork on the front here. Really cool. I've heard this before. I haven't got a chance to open this copy yet, but I know it's great. So, highly recommend any Elton Dean, especially this one. Found this for cheap too, so that was cool. Next up, a cheap one. This is Eternal Wind, self-titled. Another 80s record, I think another, 1984 on Flying Fish. I believe I showed one of their later records previously, but this is like a nice mix of jazz fusion, kind of new age folk, and kind of stuff. I really enjoy it. That's the Flying Fish label. I really like that label too. Pretty cool. Pretty plain, but pretty nice. Nice design there. Fish. Yeah, beautiful. Basically beautiful ethno jazz. Nice ethnic pieces. If you're curious, there's the lineup. You can usually find the Eternal Wind records for pretty cheap most of the time. This being the best one, in my opinion, at least my favorite. Definitely pick it up if you see it. A Don Cherry that I did not have. Eternal Rhythm. I thought I had this, but I can't find it in my collection, so I don't. One of these uni packs, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is what it is. So, you know what Don Cherry doing what Don Cherry does. Nice mixture of this on this actually of American and European musicians coming together to form some beautiful, beautiful music. Avant-garde jazz, improvisation, gamelan, and kind of ethnic grooves. Yeah, very, very nice. So, Don Cherry, Albert Mangelsdorf, AJ Thielen, Bert Rosengren, Sonny Sharrock, Carl Berger, Joachim Kuhn. There's the dope lineup right there, but fantastic. Don Cherry. You know, Don Cherry doing his Don Cherry things, like I said, on the NPS label. Beautiful, beautiful sort of ethnic jazz mixed with everything I named. I don't like saying world music because there's a big, you know, that kind of encompasses everything. So saying world music is kind of pointless, but sorry if I'm looking aside. I say this all the time, but I see myself over there, so it's kind of confusing. But next up, one been after for a while, finally found it at one of my little secret digging spots for $10, so very happy to have this. Mal Waldron, The Call. This is the second pressing with the picture cover. There's a first pressing that has just a white cover with text on it, but I like this cover actually better, so the other one's kind of boring to me, but yeah, beautiful. First release on the Japo label, which is what this is on. Basically a subsidiary of ECM. But just fantastically beautiful jazz. How to describe this? Two-side long tracks, kind of like, I think they're about 20 minutes or so each. Yeah, one's 18 or almost 19, one's 21. So I would say like two-side long 20-minute tracks. Recorded in 1971. Germany, obviously. So great hard bop, post bop jamming, psychedelic grooves, just funky, meditative. I don't know. You just gotta check it out. The whole thing is on YouTube. Free to check out. So very kind of spacey, atmospheric, even like kind of krautrock-esque at times. They don't really go full out krautrock, but definitely kind of dance around that vein. Very nice track with, I don't remember where it was, if it was in the first side, second side, but Mal Waldron and Jimmy Jackson go back and forth between piano and organ, kind of dueling back and forth, but beautiful, beautiful record. Everett Hardweber plays on this, as well as Fred Braceful on drums, who I wasn't as familiar with, but Everett Hardweber on bass, like I said, Jimmy Jackson on organ, Mal Waldron on electric piano, but amazing record. Pick it up if you see it. Unfortunately, it's not the easiest to find, but totally worth it to pick up if you do see it, so high recommendation right there. Definitely one of my favorite Waldron records, along with Spanish Bitch, which I still don't have. Love to find that, but really happy to have that finally. Long time want. This was an awesome find right here. I'm very happy to have this. So another long time want. Crossed off the list finally. Very, very cool. This is Soul of Africa, Hal Singer, and Jeff Gilson. Basically a team up of French musicians. Hal Singer being an expatriate from the US. Very, very cool. Jeff Gilson is a piano player. Hal Singer is a sax player, if you're not familiar with him. Not a lot of people are, surprisingly. I thought more people knew him, but fantastic kind of Afro jazz, I guess, spiritual jazz, very rhythmic, modal, even kind of like Afro-Cuban jazzy at times, but just a beautiful record. Not the easiest thing to find. There's the gatefold in the studio, making magic. Just a beautiful, beautiful record, hard to find. And this is a gorgeous copy of it, super clean, the sleeve and the record. And it came with some extra goodies too, which was cool. I'll show you those in a second. Let me show you the record itself first. There's the label. You probably won't be able to see how clean it is, but it's like super clean, so yeah, I can't tell. But anyway, take my word for it. It's nice. On the Le Chant du Monde label, something of the world. I think du Monde is of the world, but I'm not sure. It came with these cool kind of, how do I describe this? Just like a pamphlet, I guess, of Hal Singer talking about who he is and what he does. Very cool kind of piece. I got a bunch of these pamphlets that came with it. Well, another one. And then it came with a write-up, like an autobiography of Singer. And then a letter to the head of the studio, basically from his wife, for a follow-up, trying to get Hal Singer a contract, basically, to come back and play in the U.S. Like I said, he was a expat, so he used to be in the U.S. I think he left for, actually I'm not sure why he left. I want to say it was for the draft, from what I read, but I don't know how true that is. So, but very cool, I guess. According to this letter, Yusef Lateef was actually the one that introduced Hal Singer to this label exec, whoever it is, and they just had mutual friends. So he said, hey, check out Hal Singer, he's coming back to the U.S., put him on, you know. So mentioned Yusef Lateef, how he was a big fan of Hal Singer and all that stuff. But very, very cool record. Like I said, beautiful, beautiful jazz. Soul of Africa. It's been reissued, luckily, so you can find it relatively easy. The original is very hard to find, so we're very happy to find this. Got this at a record fair, local record fair, which was surprising because there was nothing else to find at that fair. This was one of the only things I found, so very, very cool. Very excited to have this. One of those records that you never thought you'd find, you know, especially in the wild. And plus all the other stuff that came with it is just cool. So enough of that. Move on to, I think I've shown this record before, I'm not sure, at least the reissue on Inner City. This is Billy Galt, the music of Billy Galt, When Destiny Calls, on Steeplechase as the original pressing. Like I said, I think I showed the Inner City pressing. This is from 74, yep. So, very cool. It's the lineup right there. Check it out. Have Bill Saxton on tenor sax. Billy Galt is a piano player, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. Ellen Delliston on vocals. Jolie Wilson on vocals. Billy Skinner on trumpet. James Benjamin on bass. And Michael Carvin on drums, who might be the most well-known for jazz heads. But beautiful, beautiful jazz. Modal jazz, piano-driven, spiritual jazz. I'm not always a fan of vocals with my jazz, but this is just, it works. Sometimes it just works, and it just works in this, so. Definitely doesn't distract from the music, doesn't, I don't know, doesn't make it worse. Like I said, I'm not a fan of vocals. Sometimes it distracts too much from the music and just kind of overpowers it. This doesn't at all. Music is in the forefront and just beautiful, beautiful jazz. So check it out, Billy Galt. I think it's his only record as a leader, actually, so. The Inner City pressing is, I believe, quite a bit easier to find than this, but if you can find it, and if you don't mind vocal jazz, check it out. Next up here was a really cool find by way of, I think Chris put me onto this, but I think Dave Wayne originally found this, so huge shout out to Dave Wayne if you happen to see this. Thank you for putting us all onto this. So this is Kent Glenn, Good for the Garden, a fantastic cover, one of the best covers I've ever seen. That dude is ready to do some gardening. I mean, those trousers aren't really garden ready, they're a little too light for me, but that shirt is snazzy, those glasses. Dude is styling for some gardening. Anyway, the music is beautiful modal jazz, just very, very nice. Very under the radar, too. Not too many people knew about this, apparently, and I didn't know about it either, so I'm not surprised. Yeah, I didn't know anything about Kent Glenn. I think he only had a couple records, maybe? I don't even know. This was on the VJ International label, which I know nothing about, once again, so VJ International. Pretty simple label there. But like I said, just modal jazz, very nice. trying to see the personnel on here, but so Kent Glenn on piano, Vince Wallace on sax, Paul Novros on soprano sax, Mark Proctor on bass, Paul Krybach on drums. I know none of those people, but if you want to check that out, maybe someone knows anyone in that lineup. Recorded in 1977. I think it's West Coast Jazz. I think it's from California. Yeah, kind of logged in. So, from California, but Los Angeles. Check it out if you find it. This is one of those records that I'd probably flip right by, you know, as I'm going through records and just looking. Just I probably think it's just bullshit, but one of those that, you know, goes to show, don't judge a book by its cover, that classic saying, because you might miss out on a dope-ass record, so. Had this record for a while now. Just never showed it for whatever reason. I don't think I did. So I was listening to it recently. Figured I'd just show it. Jimmy Heath, The Gap Sealer. This has been shown quite a bit in the vinyl community before, but I don't think I've ever showed it. So got this for really cheap on one of my last digs. It was $1, so I had to show it. Very, very dope. The Gap Sealer. Kenny Barron, Bob Cranshaw, Mtume, Tootie Heath, and Jimmy Heath, obviously, his brother. So they do a version of El Bakulan, Land of the Blacks, the full album of that. Title's actually on Strata East. There's an album with that name, but which is a lot better, in my opinion, that version on there than on here. It's also a track and an album name, so a little confusing. The first track on here, Heritage Hums, beautiful. Angel Man's, which is track 2 on side B, another beautiful track. This whole thing is great. But sort of 70s, if you don't know Jimmy Heath and the Heath Brothers, sort of 70s, I would say like hard bop, post bop, spiritual jazz-ish, very solid, modal, stellar group of musicians, obviously. These guys are all pretty well known. Yeah, overall very good, very solid. On the Cobblestone label, even though it's on a Blue Note sleeve. In a Blue Note sleeve, I think I ran out of sleeves, so it's probably why, but didn't come with the inner sleeve, even though it's in good shape. Luckily, didn't get all messed up without a sleeve, so. But, you know, if you're paying $1 for an album, I guess you can't really expect too much. And right along with that, in that same spot, I picked up this for very cheap. Probably about half of what it usually goes, less than that, what it usually goes for, so. Marching On, the Heath Brothers, very, very dope. On Strata East, one I never had the original of. I had the reissue. Sold that and finally have the reissue. Beautiful, beautiful, sort of, how to describe this, debut album from them. Their best one, in my opinion. Nice mix of like hard bop, post bop, and that sort of Strata East flavor. You know, Stanley Cowell on piano and kalimba, I think, or marimba, mabira, which is actually a kalimba. So yeah, I was right. I guess the mabira is like a thumb piano, a little piano, I guess is what they call it. It's called a kalimba in the US, apparently, so. But beautiful copy of this as well. Very clean, just exceptionally clean, actually. Makes me think that someone just bought it and just filed it, or just it was just sitting somewhere for years and years. Obviously, on the classic Strata East label. But very happy to get this for cheap price. There was just a guy at the record fair who was just blowing out jazz, just super cheap, so people grabbing what they can, you know. And he didn't just have jazz, he had everything. He had like rock, psych, blues, like salsa stuff, Latin, Brazilian, a bunch of stuff I didn't know, like Indian music, and had a huge pile of jazz, so I didn't want to sit there and just, you know, kind of take up space and just look up every single record, because I knew none of them. So I figured I had probably about 30 records already. That was good enough for me. But yeah, very, very dope. Very happy to have that. Marching On, the Heath Brothers debut album. Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Probably one of the more well-known Strata East records. So very, very cool find for a very good price. And then right along with that, Cerrone Artistry on his own, out of the Cosmos label, basically like a private pressing. Cerrone is a bass player who's basically played with everyone in the jazz world, or kind of like the more avant free jazz world, which is what this album is. Very cello and bass heavy, avant-garde jazz, free jazz. But yeah, he's played with people like the Revolutionary Ensemble. He played in them. Pharoah Sanders he played with. Clifford Thornton, Dave Burrell, Dewey Redman, Cecil Taylor, you know, just everybody, and then a whole lot more. So, but like I said, it's pretty out there, avant-garde jazz, sort of bass, cello heavy. So if that's not your thing, you probably won't like this, but I think it's great. I love it. Definitely a bit out there. Has a cool textured cover too. It's like a cardboard sort of cover, but like a textured cardboard. Very cool. And just a paste on front sleeve, so very sort of DIY-esque there. There's other instruments on here other than just bass and cello. There's flute on here, sax, but it's definitely very bass and cello heavy, so just wanted to put that out there. Let's see. Try to show you the lineup here, just so you know. There's the lineup right there. You have James Newton on here. Oh, sorry about the glare. There we go. Yep, so you have James Newton, and then Munir Bernard Fennell on cello, Don Moy from the Art Ensemble of Chicago on percussion. So, great lineup. Can't really go around with that lineup, in my opinion. Yeah, great album, which you don't really see at all or hear too many people talk about. So, happy to have this and add this to the collection. Probably hang on to this one for a while. Another one I got for a great price. Another one here from that same guy. This was really, really cool. This is a classic jazz record, which I just didn't have. Charles Mingus. Yeah, what do I say about this? Just classic hard bop. Came out in 1959 on the Columbia label. This is a original 6-eye. I believe it is, from everything I could tell, the runouts and all that. It's an original, so. But yeah, very, very dope. His debut for Columbia, actually, I believe this was. So, very dope. I'm not the biggest hard bop fan, but there's like certain records I just gotta have. This was one that I did not have, so. Horace Parlin plays piano on this. I'm trying to look for the lineup. Yeah, John Handy, Booker Irvin, Horace Parlin, Danny Richmond. Let's see. Never make it easy on these Columbia records. Jimmy Nepper, Willie Dennis, and I believe that's it. Shafi Hadi, I believe, plays on this as well. So, but yeah, classic. You know, nothing more to say about this. It's Mingus. Mingus at some of his best, in my opinion. This is a mono record, I don't think I mentioned, but it's a mono pressing, 6-eye mono, so. It wasn't perfect condition, it wasn't mint, it was probably like a VG, but it looked VG, but it plays with just a little bit of background noise, so. It had a split seam, which I was able to fix, luckily, so. It split just in the right way, or it just kind of unglued and wasn't completely ripped apart, so. And lastly here, I'll probably end off with this one. I was in New York City recently for a dig, and I came across this at Human Head. Didn't have this. This is basically like a Polish library record, is the easiest way to describe it. It's like funky soul jazz fusion. Yeah, basically a Polish library record. And that's exactly what it is, because it's an orchestra, PR, and TV. Digriduja Henryk Dybek. So basically it's an orchestra of television and radio from the town of Łódź, you know, directed by Henryk Dybek is what it reads, so string beat. Pretty cool cover, the classic Polska Muza label there. Most stuff on this label is very good, and this is no exception. So very funky, very good, and just one I did not have. So I'll probably cut it off there, almost 25 minutes. Sounds good to me. You're probably tired of listening to me. I'll be back soon to show some more good stuff. Hope everyone's doing well. Peace.